Hey everybody, this is Perch. Well, this mail certainly seems like bait, but we're going to go ahead and give it a shot anyway, because I actually think some of you may be surprised by my answer. But this is me and my kind of pragmatic, not quite dad Perch type, but just kind of pragmatic. And it's me kind of pointing out that sometimes the internet likes to label things and throw words around, particularly in the social media YouTube space that sound pretty bad and they're certainly used to smear people, but maybe they just kind of are what they are. So let's read this mail. It says, Dear Perch, I've heard you talk a lot about people who are fans, cl- people who are tourists, people who are just here for the outrage. But one thing I haven't heard you talk about are grifters, people who are trying to make money off of the controversy. Is that how we're defining grifter? You know what? I'm spoiling my answer a little bit. Let's continue here. Um, Do you think there are grifters in comics? Who are the grifters? See, that's the part that sounds like bait. This is an email. It's like, please say some names so we could then run and tattle to the people you name. I don't know. Maybe I'm just too old and jaded for this entire thing, but that's always how it kind of sounds. But anyway, all right, but we continue. Uh, right now, there's a lot of talk about grifters in comics and a lot of videos calling out people who are grifters. Who do you think the grifters are? Again, we're repeating for names. And what should be done about them? All right. And yeah, that's the end of the mail. There's some other nonsense there. All right. Um, Here's the thing. A grifter is, well, first off, I think a grifter is in the eye of the beholder. Okay. So I don't think there's just that there's the world is separated into kind of good, honest people and grifters. I think grifters becomes a pretty subjective term. If you take grifter, like if you go by the textbook, dictionary definition of what is a grifter, then it'd be somebody who's trying to kind of con money out of you, somebody who is, basically trying to stir up unnecessary controversy in order to, through nefarious means, take money, basically to profit off of somebody through less than honorable means. A person who is gaining money through shenanigans, gaining money through gain, through kind of ill repute, as they would say. That's a grifter. Um, if I go to Chat GPT and I put in who are grifters in comic books, you know what? I'm kind of curious the answer will give me. So please hold, and we'll go give you this answer. All right, we're back, and hilariously, Chat GPT, which is kind of the ultimate of good irony at times. When I first put in this question, like who is a grifter in comic books, it actually came up with an image of Grifter from Wildstorm done by Jim Lee, which is that's some pretty awesome trolling. But then eventually, it came to a pretty I don't know, a pretty good definition here. So it says in the comic book industry, the word grifter doesn't refer to a single official group, but is often used as slang or critical label. It usually means people or entities who exploit fans, creators, or the medium for profit in a manipulative way without adding much genuine value. Okay, so and then it breaks it down into 4 categories of grifters in comic books. Okay, number 1, speculator era publishers and promoters. These are publishers or promoters who hype up collector's items to artificially inflate sales. This is grifting. Okay. Number 2, predatory convention vendors. Vendors selling cheap knockoffs, counterfeit signatures, or underpriced prints. Okay. Underpriced prints? I think they meant overpriced prints. Underpriced prints sounds great. Anyway, by the way, of the definitions, they gave us 4 of these. Well, let me finish real quick. Okay, so number 3, shady crowdfunding campaigns. Campaigns that promise big projects but deliver nothing. Okay. and culture war commentators, online personalities who call themselves the defenders of real comics while attacking mainstream publishers and ultimately have little to no knowledge of the industry itself. Okay. So, four categories: we have speculator era publishers and promoters, predatory convention vendors, shady crowdfunding campaigns, and culture war commentators. All right. Um, and then ChatGPT offers to give me real world examples of of these things, and so we can go into a couple of these. But speculator boom, we have in particular kind of Image and Marvel back during the '90s. It very very properly ignores the crowdfunding scandals. It lists them, but it doesn't actually give any names. Same thing with the culture war commentators. It says people who are self-styled woke or anti-woke commentators. Okay. And then convention cons, where it notes fake Stanley things. It also adds a new category here, which is creator no-show patterns. So creators who promise things and then no-show the event. And this one, it gives me my first actual name. It just lists Donnie Cates here. Just Jesus, ChatGPT, just bears a night. All right. So here comes the part where I think I may surprise you. Of these four categories, right? The publisher, speculator bullshit, the predatory convention stuff, the shady crowdfunding, and the culture war commentators. In my mind, and I know some of you will disagree, only one of these is a grifter. And that's the predatory convention vendor. My definition of that would be the predatory convention vendor is actually selling something fraudulent. They're actually, this fake signatures, fake, comics that are not real. That's a grifter. That is somebody who's actually doing full on nefarious means to gain money. The other three fall more into the, are you into this or buyer beware? And this is the part, and to be clear, I think the person who wrote me this mail really wanted me to go after the last two, the shady crowdfunding and the culture war commentators. But I'm going to give you a reason why I wouldn't call these grifters. Now, this doesn't mean that these people don't annoy the piss out of me because, clearly if you listen to other my videos, they do. This video is also not a big defense that these guys are actually amazing. It's not. It's just that the people who are bought into this stuff are getting what they're asking for. You want to talk about culture war commentators. If you're believing that those people are grifting you, then you have to believe that the people listening are bought into the idea that they are actually, that they believe that these people are fans, that they believe these things are real. But the reality is the people who are listening to the quote unquote culture war commentators, they know what they're getting. There's nobody up there who's like, my God, I was excited to see Snow White, the live action film. I was really into it. And then I listened to this video, by Critical Drinker. And now I refuse. I refuse. Now he's opened my eyes. The fact this was a bad film. Is that happening? Really? If you're listening to these shows, if you're listening to live streams, you're listening to this kind of stuff, then you might be tricked, if you will, like the first time you click, but after the second or third time, you're clicking there because you're enjoying the content. Thus, you are getting what you want. It doesn't mean that some of the people on YouTube are lying to you. They may be inventing fake rumors or numbers or other things, but you're there for it. You're listening to that stuff. It's a buyer beware situation. Right? You are what people need to wrap their head around is if you're listening, the people listening to these shows are not like hapless fools who, don't know any better. They're listening to what they want. Just like the publishers who are putting out foil covers and all that other kind of very gimmicky crap. The people buying that stuff. I mean, trust me, I was a retailer. And I'm selling a foil cover, and the publisher's like, it's a collector's item. Yeah, there are speculators out there who are like, oh my God, truly, there will never be another foil comic like this ever again. But not many. The people buying that stuff were getting, what they knew. I mean, they just have to look at the shelves. They're like a quarter of the comics have variant cover bullshit going on. They're not being fooled. Now they may believe wrongly that they're going to go up in value. There are people who came in and bought tons of copies of the Death of Superman, thinking there's no way Superman will ever come back to life again. This is it. He's done forever. But not many people believe that, and certainly in the year 2025, nobody believes that. So I might be able to sign on to this if we're talking, the height of the speculator boom in 1993, that people were actually conned into believing some of this stuff was, true, printing money, collector value stuff. But in 2025, no, you can't call it a con. You can't call it a grift if it's just part of the business model, which leaves us finally with the unfulfilled crowdfunding campaigns. And yeah, to some extent, I agree. But how many, and this is where I might disagree with a lot of you, I don't believe that the people who have unfulfilled crowdfunding campaigns, I mean, doesn't like Joe Mad had one for a while, didn't Rob Liefeld have one? There's like a lot. But do you believe that when they first put up the crowdfunding campaign, that they thought, I'm gonna steal all this fucker's money. I'm never gonna give them anything. How many people are that? Yeah, including some of the recent ones. And hell, we'll go with the one that you see online all the time. Do you believe that Rainbow Brute, that when EBS put up Rainbow Brute, that he never intended to ever deliver Rainbow Brute when he put it up? Now, I don't know if he plans to ever deliver that now, or if he's drawing, or who knows what his plan is now. So, but again, when the crowdfunding campaign went up, do you believe that the individual never ever intended to deliver it? Never ever did. This is different from they thought it would be easy and it turned out not to be, and then they couldn't figure out how to get it done, or they figured out how to get money a different way and didn't want to deliver it anymore, or whatever. But in order to call it a grift, and again, I'm using my definitions, yours may be different, I think you have to believe that it was a con from the very start. And so given the definitions, and I think those are good ones, it's only the person who's selling fake signatures at the con that is truly, lying from the very start. The others are putting things in, and in some cases, people are eating it up. I mean, like I said, I know many of you, I think, may be bristling at this. You may be downvoting this right now, but I do think that the people are throwing around the word grift all the time. And really what grift means is I don't like what that person's doing, which is perfectly fine. I don't like what a lot of these people are doing. I don't like the dumb, Kathleen Kennedy is crying, anti-woke videos. They suck. And they are absolutely the repetitive, dumb nonsense. But my antidote to that is stop watching. So I do. It to call it a grift would mean that this person is deliberately putting this stuff up and somehow conning me into watching it, and I'm not watching it. The people who are watching it enjoy the content. The YouTube video is the content. That's the thing. The person's style, what the person is saying, how the person is coming across, that is the product. The product is not Snow White or Kathleen Kennedy's tears or any of that stuff. That's not the product. The product is the video commentating on that, and the people who are watching that are enjoying it. I mean, again, you'd have to believe that the people are clicking onto that video and going, oh my God, I thought I was in for an actual in-depth, thoughtful, detailed analysis on Kathleen Kennedy's movie practices. And, I got fooled by the thumbnail that showed Kathleen Kennedy with wide bug eyes and tears coming out and fire seemingly burning her in hell. And, they got me. I've been grifted. You know what I mean? Again, do I think it's a good practice for somebody to crowdfund a book and then never deliver it? Absolutely not. It ruins it for a bunch of legit good creators who are trying to get stuff out. And I think people need to deliver on their promises. They should do that. There could be a lot of extenuating circumstances why they haven't delivered on their promises. Who knows? Some good, some legit, some not. But that the antidote to that is, demand a refund, go to the Better Business Bureau, roast the person for basically, not delivering something you paid for. Certainly, perfectly fair game. The people who are going up and are throwing a fit over they paid for something and they never got it, those people absolutely are justified in bitching about it. There's a lot of people who are throwing a fit for not getting a comic they never ordered or paid for, and they're just jumping into the bandwagon of like, this is a grift. And I would argue, if anything, that's more of a grift, because these people are lying about the fact they didn't fund something. I think, again, to me, grift entails dishonesty from the start. That's why I think selling fake autographs is a grift. But otherwise, I think a lot of people online are just throwing around the word grift too often. And I think there are plenty of better words to use. There's plenty of more accurate words to use, but grift is a popular word right now. And it's like, this person is a grifter. Perch is a grifter. How is he a grifter? Well, he cons people into listening to his videos, thinking they're going to get something with good audio quality and actual video and sound effects and clips. And instead, it's just dumb thumbnails of Wildstorm's grifter for 14 minutes or 16 and a half minutes now. That's a grift. So that's my answer. Again, you may disagree, and you're welcome to. It's my opinion. In fact, I'll probably, for pure honesty, label this video as my opinion on what grifting means, and leave it there. Anyway, happy days. So that's my answer. That's all I got. Thanks for listening.